Good morning.
Good morning.
Hearing a little bit of
A little bit,
feedback.
a little bit.
All good? Okay. All right, let's start over. Good morning. My name is Stacy Wood. I'm a public information officer here with Buncombe County Government. Thank you for joining us for the Buncombe County Hurricane Helene response update. Today is Wednesday, October 2nd. Today we are joined by Asheville City Schools, Buncombe County Schools, and AB Tech. Also want to let people know that this briefing is being broadcast in Spanish on 97.3 FM, La Pantera. We know that medical care is top of mind for a number of folks. We've heard from Mercy Urgent Care that the following locations are open for walk-in with no appointment needed. Mercy Urgent Care West Asheville, 1201 Patton Avenue, 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mercy Urgent Care, Weaverville, 61 Weaver Boulevard, 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mercy Urgent Care, Brevard, 22 Trust Lane. Mercy Urgent Care, Waynesville, 120 Fraser Street. It is important to note that Mercy Urgent Care is equipped to treat non-life-threatening illness and injuries only. Patients who are experiencing a life-threatening emergency should call 911 or visit their emergency room. I'll now turn it over to County Manager Avril Pender.
Thank you, Stacy. Good morning. Today marks our 6th day of search and rescue, and our teams are continuing to go out and save lives. The devastation in our community is heart-wrenching. As we heard from our search and rescue teams yesterday, we have very skilled and technical rescue professionals working to save everyone we can. But in some areas, this level of destruction could not be survived. Our confirmed loss of life this morning remains at 57 people. Our food and water distribution sites are open at noon today. Our goal is to grow these sites and offer more. Please continue to bring jugs to refill. Yesterday, we had a question about drinking from wells, and I wanted to follow up. No one should consume water from private or shared wellheads was covered with water until the well has been tested for bacteria, fecal chloroform, and inorganic chemicals, including volatile organic compounds or VOCs, pesticides, herbicides, petroleum-based products, and nitrates or nitrites. These wells should be considered contaminated until tested. Don't assume, as power comes back on, that all other water wells, non-flooded, are safe either. The recommendation would be to boil any water before consumption, even if the well was not flooded, until tests can be completed. I also want to provide a bit of good news about Kirby, who processes recycling. Though without power, the facility itself remains minimal physical damage, and their fleet of trucks are also untouched. They are working to resume service as soon as possible and have resumed service of curbside recycling collection in the town of Fletcher, as well as several other commercial customers. We continue to see calls from 911 slowly decrease in volume, but non-emergency calls are not decreasing. We have support from 4 call centers around our state to assist with our 911 overflow call volume. With that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Maggie Freeman, Superintendent from Asheville City Schools.
Good morning, everyone. I first want to bring prayers to our community and to all those in the surrounding areas that have been impacted by this horrific event. We know that the road to recovery is going to take a while, and we are still in the inventory phase for our school system, trying to determine which of our resources, what we have, and what we're able to do with what we have. Also want to thank our first responders and leaders in the community for all their tireless and selfless efforts to help with the recovery process and serving our community. Asheville City Schools, our facilities did, from what we can assess so far, have minimal damage, some flooding in certain buildings, but nothing that we won't be able to recover from. All of our facilities are without water. We have about half of our facilities with power. So we are assessing and working with community leaders, county and city, to determine when water will be potentially back available. The lack of water in our school buildings and power in about half of our buildings is a major roadblock to bringing students safely back to school. Another area that we are really focusing on is transportation for our students and how to get students to and from our buildings safely. We know that there have been bridges washed out, still trees out on roads, and that is a major roadblock to bringing our students back safely as well. We have been working diligently as a school system to make sure we have accounted for every single staff member that is part of our Cougar crew. And we are nearly there, but we still do have a large number of staff that we are still trying to make contact with. So please send your prayers. And if you do work for Asheville City Schools and you have not yet made contact with your principal or supervisor, please find a way to do so through a friend or even through calling into 99.9 or Blue Ridge Radio so we can get a message that you are well and safe. I just also want to send our prayers, and our focus is working with principals and building leaders and district leaders to make sure that we can open our schools as soon as possible. So we are dedicated to doing that, even if the situation isn't 100% perfect. We know school is the best place for our children, and we are dedicated to opening our schools and bringing our students back as soon as we possibly can. But again, just want to send our prayers and out to all those impacted in this event, and our much gratitude and thanks for our community leaders and first responders. Their work has been amazing. We are using several Asheville City School facilities to help with the recovery efforts and distribution of foods. And that has just been such a great time to see our community come together and volunteer and help. And we will be sending out more information via social media for any of Asheville City community that wants to come and volunteer. We have several sites that will be looking for additional volunteers. So if you have a need to get up and you're ready to come help, please follow our social media and check on that, and we will give you information on how you can come and help. And then also just want to make sure, if you're listening to this, we do have a cell service station and a charging station at Asheville Middle School and also at the Grant Center for you to get cell service as well as be able to charge your devices. Also, pay attention to all the updates on where to get water and food, and Asheville City Schools is there with you because we know together we can do really hard things because we are a Cougar crew. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Furman. And now we are joined by Buncombe County School Superintendent, Dr. Rob Jackson.
Good morning. I'm Rob Jackson, honored to serve as the superintendent of Buncombe County School System. Our community has suffered from an incredible tragedy. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with someone and we were talking about our students. During the pandemic, we began to use a word, unprecedented, that we had hoped and prayed that we would never use again when we think about our students' personal lives and their academic lives. And yet we are in unprecedented times yet again. But we discover in unprecedented times strength that's been there throughout, that we may not always have to draw upon, but we've seen that drawn upon over the course of the last almost 7 days as we think to prior to the storm and all the work that went on to prepare for what has happened here in our county. On behalf of our 22,000 plus students and our over 3,000 staff members, I want to say thank you. Thank you to our emergency services personnel. Thank you to our first responders. Thank you to law enforcement. Thank you to our county staff who've worked tirelessly around the clock to make sure that we're safe, to do all that they could within their power to take care of us, our community, our neighborhood. I want to say thank you to those who've responded from across the state and around the country, who've come in to offer their service to take care of our friends and our families and our neighbors. We're so very grateful and so very appreciative of all of those who in this time of challenge have said, here I am, what can I do to help? I'd like to say thank you to our teammates, our transportation team, who, as the storm was arriving, were driving our school buses to help evacuate our friends and neighbors to safe shelters, who were back out immediately after the storm, again, driving those buses to evacuate our friends and neighbors to the shelters that were set up. Our transportation team has continued to work around the clock, providing the fueling logistics for our emergency response vehicles, for our law enforcement vehicles throughout the community, for our fire departments, making sure that our school system is a partner and a resource for our community. Because truly, that's what public schools are in all things, but especially now. I want to say thank you to our child nutrition teams as they've come into our schools to open up our freezers and our coolers and our dry goods, to provide those to folks at the shelters, and then to provide them to our community as well. We see the great need and have reached out, and I'm so thankful for our employees who've showed up to say, here I am, what can I do? I'm so grateful for our facilities and maintenance teams who have cut paths into each of our 45 schools to make sure that they're accessible so that we could assess the damage to our facilities. And we're very grateful that, like our sister school system, the Asheville City Schools, that we've suffered minimal damage in our buildings. We have work to do, but they'll be ready to open. You see, but cutting those pathways into our schools has been very important in this moment, because most of our schools are being used right now. Some are being used as sleep sites for law enforcement, for ambulance drivers, for power crews who've come in again from across the state and around the country to serve our community, to help our community. And even though our schools, 44 of our 45, do not have water, we don't have power, still we've been able to open the doors and say, here's a safe place to sleep tonight. We see you and we recognize you, and we're so appreciative that you're here to take care of those we love and those that we live with, our neighbors and friends. We're grateful that our facilities have been able to be used for things like landing helicopters, as provisions have come in, greatly needed provisions. And we've been grateful to be able to work in partnership with the incredible leaders in our county who are doing all they can for all of us in this moment where we've had such loss. There's been loss of life, loss of homes, loss of a sense of security. We teach our children when they enter kindergarten, when times are tough, look for the helpers. That community unit that we teach our children when they come to school, look for the helpers. I want to share with you that throughout, we've seen our helpers, and they've been here for us, and we're so grateful for them. I wish that we could utilize remote learning, because we can't open our schools until we have water and power, and we know that our friends and neighbors are working hard to restore that. I wish we could use remote learning, but we just can't, because our students and staff members don't have access to the internet. Many are without power. Cell phone service is very spotty or just doesn't work where they are, and so we can't take advantage of that opportunity. As Dr. Furman said, we know our children need to be in school. They depend on our schools for breakfast and lunch, and we're so grateful to be able to provide that to them every single day. They depend on our schools for a feeling of support and structure. They depend on our schools to be with our teachers and staff who love and care for them every single day. And we want our students back in our schools as soon as possible. We're working hard to prepare for that day. We're looking forward to that day. We're making plans to support the social and emotional and the mental health and well-being of our students, because our students and our families, our neighbors, our staff have experienced such trauma. And we want to make sure that we're prepared to support them on the first day back and every day after that. And so we continue to work hard, and I'm so grateful to my teammates within the school system and throughout Buncombe County for the work that they are doing to ensure that we're ready and currently taking care of our friends and our students, our families, but that we're also ready on that first day back. This year in our school system, well before this, our theme is Together We Rise. Today, I would share with you that even in the greatest of tragedies, still, together we rise. We're so grateful and so appreciative, and we'll keep working hard to support our community. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce the Chancellor of AB Tech, Dr. Gossett.
Good morning. My name is John Gossett, President of AB Tech. My prayers are with our employees, our students, and our community. Community is a part of our name, and we take that very, very seriously. When Avril called me Friday morning before telecommunications went down, I hope that she would testify that my answer to the call for help was immediate and emphatic yes. We are a part of the community, and we're proud to be a part of the solution as this community moves forward. We are serving, as you well know, a part of the general shelter at our event center. We have a medical shelter at our allied health building, both of which are, I think, the last time I checked, close to capacity, and we're happy to work with our partners there to serve our community. We're also using our Coleman gym for storage. We're letting the workers take naps and try to recharge in Coleman. Staging of trucks, ambulances are happening in our parking lots. So again, we are very, very thankful to be a part of the solution. As our partners in education are doing, we are looking for our employees. We have probably 2/3 of them accounted for. So as Maggie said, if you're hearing this and you're part of the AB Tech family, please reach out to someone and get word to us that you are fine and what it is that we can do to support you when you're at home. Our executive committee of the Board of Trustees agreed with the leadership team that we will not consider reopening AB Tech until at least October 14th. And as our partners agree, that is going to depend on our infrastructure. We are remarkably thankful for the county, the work that they're doing to get us back online, us, the community, back online. We're thankful for Duke Energy, our telecommunication partners, the city working with water, everyone who is helping to bring some levity to the suffering that our community has endured. I also want to thank our employees who have volunteered, and I'm glad that it's been said, always look for the people running to help. We have people running to help, and it does my heart good in those low moments to see everyone coming to Asheville to help us, not only throughout North Carolina. Yesterday, I met someone from Minnesota, met someone from Ohio, saw some state troopers from Louisiana, which means everyone is coming to help. Speaking of help, if there's anything that you can do, friends from all across the country have asked me. The answer is pray. And the best thing we can do is donate to those agencies who are here, the Red Cross, Salvation Army, anyone who can and will support this disaster or disasters like it. For us, we have already set up a website, abtech.com/give. If you would like to help our students prepare moving forward. I've already talked to our representatives at the state office in Raleigh. We know that it's going to be a long, long journey. And we want to help our employees and our students however we can. So conversations are happening within the General Assembly to bring support as best as they can. The question then is just what is that need? And 6 days in, we're starting to get a grasp of what that need is. So in summary, I'd like to thank our employees and all of the volunteers who have literally come running to help this community. I am proud that AB Tech and the employees at AB Tech are a part of the solution. And it does my heart good to know that we are with you in this struggle and will continue to be with you in this struggle. I think I failed to mention the earliest we will open is October 14th. That is not a hard deadline. It depends on our infrastructure, power, water, internet. But to our employees and to our students, take care of you. Take care of the people you love. You get your house in order. You take care of you. We'll be here when this is over. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gossett. As a follow-up, Asheville City Schools staff should contact their supervisor to check in with them to let them know if they're okay. The same goes for Buncombe County staff, Buncombe County Government staff. Please contact your supervisor to let them know that you're okay. And at this point, we will open it up to questions.
Lucas Tomei with Carolina Public Press. Question about the Buncombe County Schools and the Asheville City Schools. Do either have a goal date in mind for when they might want to have students return? And also a follow-up, do either have any idea about how many school staff are unaccounted for at the moment?
Thank you for that question. This is Dr. Furman with Asheville City Schools. Again, the biggest concern for getting students back to school is water. Without water, we just simply cannot bring students back or staff back into our buildings. So we are monitoring that work and progress closely on how the water is getting restored. And as soon as we have any kind of a hint on a timeline there, we'll be able to give some more information on that. And for Asheville City Schools, I don't quite have a percentage yet that I can share. I know that we have contacted or been in contact with the majority of our staff, and we have each principal working on kind of getting back through their list and double checking staff that they hadn't heard from yet. But we're getting close to identifying most of almost all of our staff, but we definitely have contact with a majority.
Thank you. And again, this is Rob Jackson with Buncombe County Schools. Our goal date is for our students to come back tomorrow. We would love for our students to be in school today, as a matter of fact. Like Dr. Furman said, we have to have water to be able to do that. We are doing everything we can to open as soon as possible, including not just our facilities, but our transportation staff is literally remapping the county because we have roads that are not there anymore or have been damaged. We have bridge issues. And so our bus routes will no longer work the same, at least not in the interim. And so we're trying to do everything we can to be prepared to open as soon as possible. All of our principals, all 45 of our principals are contacting our staff members. We're closing in on being able to say that we've been able to contact all of our staff members. We can't say that yet. We're very close. Part of the issue is that so many of our staff members live in remote areas in Buncombe County and throughout Western North Carolina. And so it's difficult to get in contact with them because they don't have cell phone coverage yet. And so we continue that work. We are very passionate and emphatic about finding all of our staff members and our students and all of our family in greater numbers. And so we're getting very close, but unfortunately, we can't say that we've contacted everyone yet. Thank you.
This is Laura Lee from Blue Ridge Public Radio. I have a question for Dr. Jackson. I was going to try to catch you while you were still there.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you talked about students relying on schools for structure and support. A lot of students also rely on schools for food. Are there any specific measures in place to try to get food to those students?
Thank you for the question. We know that food is the number one most important school supply for our children to be able to be successful throughout life. And so we've been very blessed in our school system to be able to offer universal feeding for breakfast and lunch for all of our students, and our families depend on it. In terms of serving our families and students, we literally opened up our freezers and coolers and gave out every bit of food that was safe to do so. And so we've done that. We continue to work as hosting sites for community partners and for Buncombe County government to distribute provisions as they come in, and we'll continue to do that. We're working to, at the point that power comes back, be able to restock our coolers and freezers so we can get it open as soon as possible. I don't know the exact numbers, but I think Buncombe County schools may serve more meals every day during the work week than anybody else, because we do serve all 22,000 plus of our students each day. And so we want to make sure we do that. But in this moment, the way that we're trying to support our students and families is through being a site for not just government and business partners, but also faith-based partners, community members, people from across the county who need a site to give out the provisions our families need. We're using parking lots throughout the county in our schools and throughout the school system to be able to host those who have the food to give and the water to give. That's been so crucial for our families. Thank you.
Thank you. And I had a question for County Manager Pender.
Good morning.
Good morning. The question that we're getting just over and over is water timeline. I know we can't give an exact date, obviously, but are there ballpark estimates for people to make plans if they're making a decision about whether to try to leave the area or not? Can we say 2 weeks, a month, 3 months? Is there any sort of framework that you all can give us about water restoration?
I cannot give you a framework. The city has been working hard, I know, and they will join us this afternoon to give more details if they have any more details to give on the water situation. I don't have an answer for you on a timeline.
Okay, and what about, we're getting questions about a disaster center on the ground to help people complete FEMA applications. Do we have any more information on that?
That is coming. FEMA is here on the ground with us, and we're still very much focused on life safety and still very much focused on urban search and rescue. But yes, FEMA is here, and we will start that conversation on where we can set up a disaster recovery center. We are looking for some space. We've been looking in our community for a large enough space that we can go in and set up, because USDA will be here as well. So USDA can help with some of our urban partners and some of our rural farms. So we're having both USDA and FEMA, and we would like to set up that disaster recovery. So right now we're in the hunt of a place that we can set that up that has some power. We know we won't have water, but can have some power that we can having residents come in and get those farms completed.
And in terms of nursing facilities, sorry, just one more. In terms of nursing facilities, we're hearing several reports of assisted living facilities, nursing facilities that don't have water, that don't have food, that don't have power. What is the coordination? I don't know if that's at the state level with the HHS or with the county. Can you tell us anything about nursing homes in the area?
Early on, we were getting those reports from our state, and we went and put eyes and talked to most of those nursing facilities managers and made sure that they could make it through. We were providing whatever we could. We will check back with the state to see if there's any more, because they have had, most of them have a different ownership, and their international or national owners were working with our state partners. We will double check and make sure if that is still the case, but we have addressed most of those needs to make sure those nursing facilities can remain in place and not have to move. So we'll double check. Thank you for raising that. We'll double check and make sure that is still, that we still have that under control, and we work with our state partners to answer any questions there.
Ms. Pender, this is John Boyle with Asheville Watchdog. 2 questions for you. With
all of these groups, so many people helping at federal level, state and county. Can you kind of speak to how y'all are coordinating this and who is ultimately in charge?
Yes, we have set up our donations management team. We have some folks coming in to assist us from United Way, as well as some of those federal partners that you mentioned that had significant experience in donation management. So we do have a team working on donations and volunteer management as well, two separate teams, donations and volunteers.
And who is coordinating? Is FEMA ultimately in charge right now?
Right now, we have what some of our employees are shadowing with FEMA to make sure that we have continuity should they leave, or I'm assuming they say they'll stay, but teaching our employees as well, because we want to build that experience and that deep knowledge. So we have employees along with FEMA, but right now FEMA is leading that, and we are learning and growing from FEMA.
And my last question is, I've had a couple people ask me about Swannanoa in particular, and if there's any chance, because it was so hard hit, of getting a Red Cross in there. That one person said they haven't had anything out there yet, really. Is that all? I'm assuming that's on your radar, and y'all are trying to get aid there. Can you tell me what the situation is with that?
It is on our radar, and we've been driving through that area. This morning, we've been trying to reach out to the fire department there in Swannanoa to see if we can support them, since they know the area a little bit better than someone coming in. We haven't really been working close. The Red Cross has been our sheltering partners, and we're helping us to run our shelters. And FEMA has been the one that we've been working with most now to get out in our community. So we, Swannanoa, Garin Creek, Upper Hominy, Broad River, anyone that was close to the water, it has been on our radar, and we need to get out there as well.
Ms.
Thank
Pender,
you.
Mark Barrett with the New York Times. What's the rationale for recommending that people whose wells were not flooded test them? It seems like, why is that, or there's any risk of contamination if their wells, the top of their wells is fine?
Coming from our environmental health specialists and our public health nurses, they're telling us that let's get that water tested to be absolutely certain. So it really is about the abundance of caution at this point. So we've been talking about how do we make sure we can get that water tested just to be safe.
Okay, and follow up, does anyone have an estimate of how many folks in Buncombe County or how many households are on private wells as opposed to a municipal system?
I don't have an estimate on that, but we can get that and follow up with our environmental health people and get that answer out at our next briefing.
Thanks.
This is Andy Rose with CNN. I wanted to check again about if there is a number on the unaccounted for people, because when we talk to the local mayors, we keep hearing the number 600, which I believe you indicated yesterday was not operative at this point. So do you have, even in the absence of a specific number, an estimate, tens, dozens, hundreds?
I don't, Andy, and you've asked that before, so I need to make sure I write that down and follow up with you at our next briefing, or as soon as I can get that information, but I don't have an updated number for you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, if you could, I'd appreciate it, just because, like I say, we're hearing these other numbers from other local officials. So we want to make sure we get the right one.
Thank you.
Karen Zakalak here from WLOS. Is that echoing? Okay, sorry. We just wanted to see, we're hearing reports of the Ingalls distribution site may have been compromised in this. Do we have any update on groceries? And for folks here in Asheville looking to buy groceries to get the milk, the eggs, the bread, do we know any information we can give out to folks about where that's available?
I do not have that today, Kim, so I would follow up as well. I do know that Ingalls had generators on their frozen section. So I know that was okay. And I had seen some Ingalls stores are open as I was trying to drive home. I see some Ingalls stores are open, but there's not power in everywhere. So I need to get a better answer for you. So let us check on that and see if we can get you some information.
Jeff Chamber with the Charlotte Observer. Apologies if you've went over this already. I joined the meeting a little bit late. Is there an updated number for the number of deceased in Buncombe County?
That number this morning is still confirmed at 57. We don't have an updated number since yesterday.
From the chat, we're getting a question that would follow up with that is, when is the county's plan to start releasing names of those that are confirmed?
The sheriff has mentioned that he's trying really hard to still identify and reach out to next of kin. That has been our challenge, quite honestly, is no cell service, no way to reach out to next of kin. And beyond that, making sure that we can identify every single person that we have a confirmed body count, but we don't have identifications on everyone or next of kin notifications. And that is the holdup.
Also from the chat, we have a question about how difficult will it be for the county to maintain an adequate supply of water shipping in to meet residents' basic needs until the water system is back online?
We've been contracting with private developers, private people that are coming from other counties and even other states to bring us those tanks of water. And they said they have a pretty strong system of water. We have enough trucks now that when one is empty, they're leaving and going and refilling. We intend to be providing water until our supermarkets are back open and have water opportunities that people can go and purchase on their own, or until our system is back online. But we will be here providing water throughout as long as there's a need in our community.
We are hearing reports of looting. Can you talk about if that's happening and where?
Can you repeat that? Oh, looting? I'm gonna have to defer that one to the sheriff's office. I don't have an answer. I've heard the same. I've heard anecdotal, but I don't have any specific data on that. So I'll refer that to the sheriff and we'll make sure we get you an answer on any specific confirmed looting that he has.
It's Laura at BPR. I'm wondering about, you mentioned the trash and recycling services. So are we correct to understand that there is limited recycling pickup, but not trash pickup at this time?
That is correct. We're meeting with our current provider, Waste Pro, today. They've been able to make it in and trying to talk to their crews, make sure they have enough crews to run the routes. So we're working through, if we don't have enough to run all the routes, how can we start and get some service in our community? They're here in the building. As soon as I'm finished with this conversation, I'll be able to get an update so we can post that back out to you.
We have a few questions in the chat, specifically about restaurants and households in dealing with spoiled food, clearing fridges, and how to deal with that.
That would all be trash. We just thought I don't have an answer yet on getting a trash routes and when we can get that picked up. But the intent is Waste Pro is here. They are telling us to be able to get a couple of crews. So we would start talking about when can we start some routes back in our community. That is much needed. Our landfill is open. So if anyone wants to actually take to the landfill, that is open. The transfer station is not. So please do not go to the transfer station. But if you have a way to get to our landfill, you can take trash to the landfill. And again, we will work with our Waste Pro providers to start making routes back in our community.
I had another question for school systems, if it's possible to get back to them.
Yes.
I know as a parent, I got the message saying that some families might temporarily relocate. Is that something you think parents should be considering at this point?
I think every family needs to make a decision on what's best for their family. And at that point, as Dr. Gossett said, just take care of yourselves, keep yourself safe. And that's going to be an individual family decision.
I would agree with Dr. Furman that truly is a family decision. We recognize that some families have the ability to do that and may choose to do that. And so one of the planning mechanisms we put in place is to ensure that we are communicating as well as we can within the compromised communication opportunities we have right now for families, so that when we get closer to opening, and unfortunately we're not sure what that might be, that we would be able to communicate well ahead of time so that families that may have moved out of the area temporarily will be able to come back in time for our schools to reopen. And so we'll do our best to communicate widely and broadly using social media, our website, and our communication, phone calls and text messages to our families to let you know when we're close to opening so that you can plan for that if you've left the area. But I would leave that to a family decision. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions in the chat? We're good. Okay. Before we part ways, I just want to make one more announcement. Wi-Fi is available at the West Asheville Library outside of the library. Wi-Fi is also available outside of Pack Library. And if you will be using this Wi-Fi, the password is read more, one word, lowercase. The password is read more. That's one word, lowercase, read more. Thank you for joining us. We will be back at 4 p.m. today. We'll be streaming live on our Facebook page at Buncombe Gov. Thank you.